Live and recording. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for bearing with us for the last couple of minutes. I'm Alex Chisnell from the Festival of Enterprise and host of Screw It, Just Do It podcast. And I'm with Sabrina Stocker and her pretty damn cool mug. I saw that the other night. On your Instagram, obviously, because we are social distancing. So thank you all for your patience. We had a bit of an echo on Sabrina's laptop. Don't know why, but we got rid of it with a few log outs and log in again. So thank you all. Got a really, wow, this audience has literally shot up again. People are piling in. This is great. Before I introduce Sabrina, who needs no introduction to many of you, I'm sure, just to say you've got a chat button there and you've got an ask a question button. If you want Sabrina to see your questions, pop them in the chat function. If not, I'll pick up the questions otherwise, which Sabrina can't see for some reason due to the software on this. But it's all good. She'll get to hear them anyway. We'll kind of cover everything and anything. You up for answering anything and everything?
We'll keep it PG, but yes.
Yeah.
No, of course, everything and anything is more than welcome.
Yeah, cool. Because some people will know you from the Apprentice, obviously. Some people might even know you from the In-Betweeners.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe that got leaked.
I'll throw that in there. Throw that into the mix. Yes. So anyway, so we're here to talk about starting an online business during the coronavirus crisis, which we're all clearly in at the moment. So Sabrina, many of you will know from 2018's BBC The Apprentice series, which she was in the semi-finals. She's also the founder of My Tennis Events and Active Dragons. So a lot of you are going to follow her on Instagram already, I'm assuming, and know a bit about her background and have probably followed her for the last couple of years. Her company now runs over 400 tennis tournaments a year, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Biggest tennis events company in the UK. Rolled that into a multiple six-figure business, and you've moved on now to the a few different business ideas that I think we're going to explore. To be honest with you, I know you're always looking at different things and being proactive with regards to business ideas. So I don't think, personally, I don't think there's ever been a better time to start an online business. I've seen loads of people that I follow personally running different webinars, the likes of Lewis Howes, Rob Moore, who I've had on my podcast, Chris Ducker, who we've got on here next week or the week after as well, I've had on my podcast, Pat Flynn, another one. I know they're all males. Maria Forleo, for example, Carrie Green, people like that. So I think as long as you've got, mobile phone or a laptop and an internet connection, you can do a lot these days without needing much money or much technology. So thank you all for joining us. Got a really healthy turnout here. First question to Sabrina, and like we say, post your questions up there. We're going to cover anything from online businesses to things you might want to know about Sabrina, what she's up to at the moment, different business ideas she's got, what online business ideas she has. So post them up there. First question for you, Sabrina, is what are you up to now?
What am I up to?
Yeah, now that you've been locked away for the last 3 weeks, I think, self-isolated from day one, didn't you?
I did. I actually think I had the virus about 2.5 weeks ago. So I've been in isolation now for probably about 24 days.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a bit insane not to have social contact for. At first it was a little bit like, okay, like what am I going to do? And now I've got to the place where I'm actually getting up at 6 and going to bed at 12, working every day. And business is thriving, which is surprising but quite exciting.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. We the family member thought they had the virus, was in hospital for 48 hours. So we were given the advice by the hospital to all self-isolate as well. So I think this is our 3rd week. So not as far as you, but I think we're coming up to day 17, 18, something like that. So it's funny, isn't it, how you become into routine? I'm the same as you. Up at 6 every morning. Last night went to bed about 11:30, still working on bringing more of my business online as well, because as well as my Festival Enterprise, I'm a business owner as well, as you know, Sabrina. and there's a lot to be looked at. And for me, I think this is a great opportunity for people to not panic, to take a step back, to look at their business if they've got an existing one, or to look at opportunities where they can start something on the side. If they've been furloughed, for example, they've always had that business idea, and just take stock and build up towards something. Maybe aim for July and give yourself 90 days to come up with generating X amount of revenue. So tell us a little bit more. So online business side for you, what does that encompass with regards to you? Because I know a lot of the work that you've done before has been like public speaking engagements, things like that, the events business, same as me. So that's taken a massive, massive hit. What have you been looking at? What have you been doing the last couple of weeks?
So my background, for anyone who doesn't know, is I have a tennis tournament business. So we run tennis tournaments in terms of just casually playing. We're going into speed dating, if I've got any singletons out there. But they all require, at least one member of staff and for physical people to be there. So the businesses come to a complete stop, obviously, because we can't go outside. In terms of that, it was processed and systemized, so I didn't have to run the business in the sense that everything ran itself. So the majority, 90% of my time was just spent on my laptop, and only if I wanted to go to events I could. So with the tennis business, I wouldn't say it's an online business, but because of the processes and systems, I never had to physically be anywhere, which is great. The actual concept for me of the online business is you never have to be anywhere in order to have an income coming through. So we have 2 businesses that are currently launching. One, Active Dragons, so teaching the under 18 market about how to actually start your online business. And all of that is completely online learning. So it's e-learning. It means that you have the flexibility to be able to run and expand your business, but not the physicality of being there, which I think is so important. The second business I'm working on is my personal consultancy business. So either going into companies and getting them systemized and processed, because a lot of the time when you started a company, you find that you're quite stressed and you're actually spending more time than you would in a normal job. So taking away those, the extra admin factors. And the third one, which I can't reveal yet, but if you follow me on social media, which is absolutely amazing, and I'm really excited for it, and that is going to be allowing you to book your online shopping with major supermarkets from home with like an email subscription service and stuff. So kind of 3 different ideas that I'm doing at the back of my normal events business at the moment. And all of them mean that I don't have to physically be there in order for the business to operate and make money.
And are they all active at the moment? Like you've set them up so they can start generating income, or are some of those 3 ideas still being fulminated and ruminated upon and all those kind of words?
All of them are set up. All of them are set up at businesses. In the last month, we've done really well in terms of how much we brought in, and obviously it's an online business, so the costs are very low. So actually, by starting an online business now, it's allowed me to be able to substitute for the events company, which for me is amazing, because it means I don't have to lay off staff. It means that I feel comfortable and I can pay all of my bills. So I think now is a great opportunity to explore it. And the worst case scenario is if it doesn't work, then you just move on to the next idea. Yeah,
absolutely. So to kind of rewind a little bit, with my tennis events business, did you literally, because I was hosting a webinar with Piers Linney from Dragon's Den last week, and he was saying, again, like don't panic, use this as an opportunity. If you've literally just started a business and you've got the opportunity to mothball it, because it seems such a waste that most businesses, and I've hosted, as like nearly 250 episodes of my podcast now, and the biggest thing that all of these well-known entrepreneurs that I've spoken to, be that a Holly Tucker from Not on the High Street or a Richard Reeve from Innocent, is that the biggest struggle is actually recruiting people and then retaining those people. And then you invest so much time and money in training those people and nurturing them, to literally have to make them all redundant is brutal. And for the growth of your company then in, I don't know, whatever it is, 90 days that we hope we'll get back to some kind of semblance of normality. So yeah, what kind of steps have you managed to do with your business to put that in a position to then thrive when hopefully the sun is still shining and people want to go out and play tennis.
Yeah, I think that, you know, I've made a lot of mistakes when it's come to hiring staff. When I was a startup, like a proper startup, I would use interns from the local universities, and I've had about 20 interns all working for me, which would have paid, because I obviously paid for all of their expenses plus a bit extra, probably for like 2 or 3 full-time members of staff. So I think, you know, actually keeping on to those key vulnerable core members is so important right now. And if the government are paying 80% and they're not working, then as a boss, you still need to make sure that they feel safe and they feel comfortable. And ultimately, you have a load of more emotional stuff to deal with, as well as the financial stuff. So I think it's not just, you know, making sure that they're getting paid, but making sure that they feel like they're being part of a community when they've left it. So my team, I'm actually very lucky. I have my core members. I've got my rock, and he is amazing. And I've told him that no matter how long, you know, this goes on for, he will be paid, and he will be paid on time, and I will make sure of that. And, you know, I've kept up for that. And for me, he's now actually stepped up and he's working more than he usually would, because he knows that he's got that security. So if you have got those members of, you know, key roles within your company, make them feel valued, make them feel loved. And ultimately, you know, he's brought in new revenue streams that I hadn't even thought about. So then they're going to be starting thinking about how they can support you more. The other side of this is a lot of my events, particularly, everyone is self-employed. So therefore, we have like amazing support from the LTA who are helping us bridge the gap as well. So seeing who else, governing bodies, if you can reach out to them, and just making your staff feel like they're in a community that's going to support them, rather than laying them off, because, you know, the amount of time and effort it's going to take to find somebody new, I just don't think it's worth it if they're really good. Me
too, 100%. I can see that even like with the my local gym, which is David Lloyd, that have a membership, and you can see them, you know, they froze everybody's memberships. They're really proactive in that regard, and then put everything online. They had some classes online before, but to put everything online, because, to take your point, most of the people, because I come from the health and fitness industry, you know, former PT and sports therapist, qualified, all that kind of stuff. And you just think everybody, you know, so many people in the gym industry and the health and fitness industry are self-employed. And if the gym's shut, you just think, where else are they going to do? So I think it's massively accelerated the growth of online coaching and online businesses in that world. But it's really nice to see them putting a lot of the trainers who we would normally see online. So they're clearly gaining some kind of income from the gyms in that regard. And I saw like Wimbledon being cancelled, and I saw they were like obviously taking a huge financial hit, the LTA, but making money available to help.
Yeah, so I think you've got 2 points there. I'll jump in with the LTA one firstly. So I could not be where I am now if it wasn't for some key workers in the LTA, because they have supported me so much. And I think, you know, looking at the tennis community, you've got a lot of tennis coaches who are being reliant, obviously because they work hour by hour. Same with someone like me in a tournament situation. So the LTA and other governing bodies are really stepping up. So just a shout out to them really quick. The other point you mentioned is about a lot of PTs and coaches going online. Now, I necessarily don't think that's a good idea, because the market's already very saturated when it comes to online coaches and online PTs. So unless you've been doing this previously, you can't be expecting to make money as an online PT for at least 6 months, potentially a year. I would suggest a lot of PTs to do is, yes, you know, if you want to become an online PT, that's great. Build it in the background, but don't expect something to happen overnight. The biggest thing I'd say for anyone who has clients is do what you can to keep those clients, check in with them, keep them accountable. I've got a lot of friends who do like free live sessions on Instagram, just so that they can get everyone coming in and feeling a little bit involved. So yes, it's good to start an online business, but you also want to think, okay, is that a business that I'm going to keep up when I get back to normality? Or is it just going to be a 3-month thing? In which case, you know, do you want to spend that much time on a 3-month project?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's and it kind of refers back to Piers, is when can you mothball the whole idea, whilst exploring additional revenue streams. Because I think any business where you've got more than one revenue stream is clearly better than one revenue stream. I always remember this story from a previous client when I was in that industry, and they were very, very wealthy. She used to travel down from London down here where I'm based in Bournemouth every Monday and stay here for the week in a flat that they bought. Husband was on the golf course. He had one client that was IKEA, and he'd had the same client for 20 years. And then literally overnight, when the contract was due for renewal, IKEA signed with somebody else. They didn't have a business. All the kids were in private school. They had the second home down at the seaside, etc. And I literally got an email from her and never saw her again. And I just think sometimes like this at the moment is a massive opportunity for people to look at their existing business and think, is there an online element that, like you say, has got legs, and it isn't just a 3-month thing? Because I think, like you said, that's a lot of hard work and effort for, as you say, you can't expect to make money tomorrow in 24 hours unless you're already set up to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think as well, like on that point, it's a very hard time for everyone, taken away from the business side, just mentally, because it's so different to be able to adapt, and you're going to have new problems now. Like, you might love your family, but you don't want to be spending 24/7 with them. So I think there's a lot of new things that are happening, and if you are looking to start an online business, do something that's going to either be beneficial for society, or it's going to be allow somebody else to improve on themselves. Because if they're really getting value for something, then they're more likely to pay for it. And if you are going down the self-development route, whether that's fitness or nutrition or business coaching, then your clients that you're ideally going to be like targeting are going to be wanting to use that time to self-develop themselves. So definitely, like, if you're looking to start an online business, do something that's for society right now, because that's what's going to help, rather than trying to keep it too niche.
Yeah. Should we dive into a few of these questions?
Yeah.
Let's do that at this point. I'm going right back to the beginning, but they're all just really friendly people saying hi, which is great. Let's go. How can you plan to start something now that isn't out of context once COVID-19 is over? That's a good question.
I think that's kind of just a mindset thing. So if you, for example, were going to become a personal development coach, for example, which is a very like one-to-one, that's, how long are you going to be with somebody, and can you really offer those services? Whereas if you had like a marketing business, let's say, and you specialize in SEO for companies, that's something that's always going to be needed. So it's kind of looking at it at two different angles and thinking, it's kind of common sense a little bit in a really nice way. If everything was normal, would people want to buy my business? Yes or no? And keep it simple. I can't use a catchphrase. Keep it simple, sexy. I learned it in my economics A level, which keep it simple, stupid. But I like the sexy more. And yeah, just keep it really, really simple, and try to break it down and not overcomplicate things. And I think that's the best way that you're gonna go forward building a business. Yeah, and
I think, like you say, you've got to be looking long term. You can't just be thinking short term, because if you just think short term, I want to make some money, those are the businesses that always fail. It might work short term, but long term, I don't think. And people are going to see through that, I think, as well. If you're just looking to make a fast buck during the COVID crisis, which I'm sure is not what you meant, but just saying some people are going to take this to the extreme, aren't they? And a friend of mine who's a policeman in Australia said already there's syndicated, like, undercover groups already capitalizing on the crisis at the moment, bulk buying, that kind of stuff, to like them then take that kind of food and supplies off the market and all that kind of thing. So people are looking for opportunities in all sorts of different ways. So MR says Rob Moore is insane. If anyone hasn't listened to him speak, do it.
I do like Rob Moore.
Anything more than digital, lucky to see. Oh, you saw him at the event I saw him up in Peterborough, and I was lucky enough to have him on my podcast. Just do it about 2 weeks ago. Saif says, can you give me some tips on how to grow my network marketing business?
What's the network marketing business like? What's it for? I think now's not a good time to sell, in a sense. Like, you don't want to be selling because you're trying to make sales. And I know that's contradictory to a lot of normal business practice, but right now you want to make your clients feel loved and appreciated and feel there for them. So if you're looking to hard sell and get others involved, yes, and you're giving opportunities, yes, but you've just got to make sure that you're doing it in the right way. And if you're still watching, just let me know a little bit more specifically, because network marketing is so broad to give an answer, I think, for that one.
What kind of multi-level marketing or network marketing business are you in, Safe? So I think you answered that question about the staff in your company earlier. Thank you, Philippa. Richard, any examples of how to move your service online?
I think there's different ways to do this depending on what equipment and what resources you have. So let's take a really simple coaching business. Rather than meeting them one-to-one and doing strategy, I move it to Zoom calls. I keep it simple. If you had a service visit where, you're cleaning houses or you're doing, window shopping, it's probably not the easiest thing to bring online. So I think it really depends on the service. Now, if you have got a service that is fully operational and you can't move it online, for example, you could have 20 local cleaners in the area, and that's just not possible because you go to people's houses, then what can you do to make it more systemized and processed online? So it's not necessarily using this time to move online, but you could use this time to systemize and process everything so you're working on it less as soon as it happens. But also be inventive as well. Be creative with what you're thinking. Like, there's no right or wrong answer in business. You've got to do whatever you think is going to be best for the client.
Yeah, and I mean, I never saw this coming like anybody else, but I used to host like physical workshops, and we're talking about moving something physical to online. So I used to host physical workshops for people to learn how to launch their own podcast. And then I actually launched my own course last year. So people now, it's just an easier way, because when I looked at the stats on my own podcast, it was like people in 140 countries were listening to it. And I thought, why would I want to restrict myself to people in Bournemouth to come to my course, or within a, radio, circuit of, I don't know, half an hour or an hour away from Bournemouth to come and do it. So I think anything like that you can move online is going to have longevity to it. And there's no reason why in 90 days I couldn't then move that to local again, and then move that to regional, move that to national, for example, if I wanted to. But for me, I think there's so much more mileage in having something like that online that someone can access whatever they want.
Online courses are such a big thing now as well, and providing that your course, providing you know what you're talking about and you know your shit, then it will be fine. But if you, like, for example, if I came on here and I had a failing business, I'd had to let go of the majority of my staff, and my cash flows were negative, I would have no credibility in myself to talk about business. So I think the biggest thing is, if you want to be an online coach in particular, you have to know your shit, basically, and make sure that what you're saying is backed up by what you've previously done. Because if you're making your money through an online course and you haven't done what you're teaching in the online course, then that's never going to be long term, because people will find out and you're going to lose that credibility. So find something that you could even be playing the violin or even playing the guitar. Whatever you're really, really good at, use that, but make sure that you have a backing in for it first.
I saw that, and it was it kind of made me laugh. Like, when I had business teaching people how to launch their own podcasts and market and grow that, and then a local company set up with their own podcast studio teaching people how to do the same. And I thought, you don't even have your own podcast, so how can you then teach people how to grow their own successful podcast if you've never done it yourself before?
Yeah, it's helpful. It's just me having a bit of a rant to everyone doing it, but
yeah, that's true.
Don't imagine me setting up a podcast video. I've never made a podcast. Yes, if I could sell it, great, but I don't know if it works.
Yeah. I think this one next from Mrs., like the name Mrs. I think you were on the webinar I did with Piers, I remember. Message if I'm right. We're a charity looking to transfer our music lessons to an online offer and aiming to expand to attract new worldwide customers. Any tips for us?
You know what? I think that would be amazing. I've previously, I'm a violinist. One of my secret talents,
No talent.
Played in music school for about 5 years. So for me, music is a great part of my life. I think definitely in terms of there's two sides of this. So one, can you create generic songs so that people can easily learn? So for example, if you're teaching a particular song on the violin, just using that as an example, can you teach them how to tune the violin properly, or how to, string, have their bow properly? I like lessons that are quite organic. I think where it will be tricky when you're moving from musical instruments to online is when there's like particular problems. So I'd probably say if you had a website, have two sections of the website. One is your generic courses where you're going to learn a certain amount of things and there's an easy course context and they learn it from home. And then the other side of this is, one-to-one tuition. Either they have to submit a piece and there's like written feedback, or you'd have a music teacher from the other side, which could be done virtually. Especially instruments, depending on which instrument, I would say feedback is really important, because then you're going to know if you're doing something right, whether that's sending in videos or whether that's having, an actual teacher on the other side giving feedback.
Yeah, and I just thought of another example, actually. So my girls do like a ridiculous amount of dancing classes, and then as if by magic, overnight, everything was moved to Zoom. So we've got one in one room, one in the other room, both doing, different, same classes for different ages in 2 rooms in the house, both with laptops. And it took a little bit of getting used to, and I think that's more getting the feedback, because the teacher's looking at maybe 6 pupils on a split screen like this and giving them individual feedback and trying to time it like that. But, which was a source of chat, shall we say, that they didn't alter the prices. So they kept the pricing the same, which, is strong position to hold, because you're trying to maintain that the value's still there. But that's just another example of, what you can move online and how much of that they could potentially develop as an alternative revenue stream once things get back to normal, to offer, extra private coaching lessons when the studio is actually shut, for example, over the weekend or stuff like that. So I think, yeah, and that charity looking to transfer music lessons, I would have thought there's a lot that you can do to research that out there as well.
I mean, if you go onto YouTube, there's so many people teaching, especially guitar, like different tutorials, depending on musical instrument, depends on how, easy it is to teach. Personally, me trying to learn the violin over the Zoom, probably would break my speakers, because I haven't played in a while. But actually, if I had a violin teacher, I probably would do it, because it's something for me to do at home. So there's definitely scope. I think it's a great idea. You just want to make sure that you're getting the pricing right, and also that feedback and communication is there for all of your musicians.
So there's a bunch of private questions I'll dive into as well. There's like 10 of them, but here we go. So James says, what would be your first focus for a new business starting right now in this pandemic? Probably work out what your strengths and weaknesses are would be one of mine, but what else would you think of, Sabrina?
Yeah, massively. Find something that you enjoy, and you could listen to 100 podcasts, and I'm sure 99% of them would say something. Find something that you can enjoy and find a way to monetize it, and try to keep it as simple as possible. The biggest ideas in the world and the biggest brands are simple ideas. Yeah. So if you can try and keep it simple, I think is really big. The other thing I'd say is keep it as lean as possible as well. See that your cash flow is coming in before you've got any major expenses. And I think that's really important now, because one of the hesitant reasons why you might want to start a business is because if you don't want to put loads of money into it, but actually if you have people buying your product or service before you've got it to a certain place, then you're always going to be cash positive.
Yeah, and interesting. Piers said the same thing last week, which is clearly good advice. Then saying that, focus on your passion. And I always say, when I was starting a podcast, it's like most people don't get past doing 7 episodes. They quit before they get to 2 months. And I always say, you have to pick something that you're passionate about and you're thinking you still want to be talking about in 3 years' time, something like that. And we did really useful exercise on the course I do, where you literally, get piece of paper, left-hand side, write down all of the things that you love. And on the right-hand side, write down all of the things that you think you've got some kind of expertise in. And where do the dots join, essentially? Where can you kind of link those two things between what you're passionate about and what you've actually got skills in? And therein lies something that you could possibly, get a business idea out of.
100%. You need something that lights you up. You're like, yes, this is what I'm doing. And you need something that your friends and family are going to be like, okay, Sabrina, I've heard it. I know you're doing it. That's the kind of response that you should be expecting every time you talk about your business idea. for sure. Because otherwise you'll get bored of it. And, you know, starting a business isn't easy. Like sometimes, you know, you want to think, oh, why am I doing this? But you need something that's like, no, I'm doing it because I love it. And that's what's going to keep you going, which ultimately is going to make you more likely to be successful with it too.
Yeah, you don't want to lose your mojo. I've done that before. Yes, she was on the webinar with Piers last week, and I knew there could be many misses down as a username, so that's why I recognised it. Tips from Piers and also from Sabrina today have been great. Thank you both. You are welcome. What's James say here? Keith says integrity, 100% Keith. If only people could use their entrepreneurial skills for good. Indeed. Reverse selling, depending on what you want to do. For example, loaning money right now as a new business will be hard. But if you reverse sell, you can do it for minimal money down. Reverse selling, cash flow rich.
Talking about cash flow. Yes.
Yeah.
I think, you can do reverse selling, providing that, you know, you have the product and service ready to be sold if someone's doing it. Because the last thing you want to do is sell a product and be like, okay, it's going to be ready in a week. And they're going to think, what's going on? So reverse selling, providing, you know what, actually, reverse selling is very good when you have maybe 3 or 4 different products that are similar and you want to test out which one is going to be the most efficient. Sometimes also it's worth not taking payment and just using that as A/B testing for your website. So you can say, actually, the service isn't available. We haven't taken payment. But that way you're going to find out which one is, you know, most likely to be liked by your customers. That's a really nice way without taking money and then not having a product or service if it's not ready.
Mm-hmm. Good one. Sam, here's a tennis one. How much actual on-court coaching have you done? What advice would you give to a young coach? Is it better to go down starting your own business or joining a pre-existing club? Good question.
Are you a tennis coach? I'm going to assume you're a tennis coach. So I started assistant coaching at my local David Lloyd when I was 14. And then I have part-time coached till I was 18. And then I full-time coached for 3.5 years. So a lot is the answer. I've done a lot of tennis coaching. And actually, tennis coaching has given me so many skills when it comes to finding out what people need. Because when my clients walk on court, they could want to get better, which, you know, I hope they would do. They could just want to chat. They could want someone to keep them. They could do it for their fitness levels. So there's so many reasons why they did it. What's the question? I've gone off on one.
He's 17, just doing his level 3 at the moment.
Amazing. I mean, you know, tennis coaching is going to be great in the next few months because it is very, because kind of social distancing when you're playing tennis. I would definitely say get as much experience as you can possibly and find a tennis club where they have a vision where they're going somewhere, because tennis coaches are very hard to work with sometimes. I have worked with...
Who told you that?
So you need to find a community tennis club which you love, otherwise going for a big train. But really, I would say go to as many different tennis clubs as you can, feel where you'd like to go, start off doing your groups and lessons, help the head coach in terms of how many clients they're getting and growing the program, and then naturally private lessons will come as well. But just keep going, get as much experience as you can. Like, tennis coaching is so rewarding to do.
Did you know I used to be a tennis coach?
Did you?
I did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I used to go to the States when I was at uni and coach tennis over in summer camps in on the east coast of the States.
Oh, that's amazing.
I've got a little bit of skin in the game here. Yeah.
I didn't know you play tennis. We'll have a game of tennis when you're next in London.
We'll do it. Social distancing applies. Emma is, I don't know if he's just commenting. Let's have a quick look. We say cutting fees is tricky. Yeah, okay. So I was gonna, this one from Miss. She obviously couldn't take the Mrs. Username that was available. So Miss, we like it. I've got my own opinion on this, but I'm going to pass this to Sabrina straight away because I think I might know her answer. Do you suggest cutting your fees during these times when people have financial insecurities?
It depends on your business. So, for example, if I was what's a good example for this? Cutting fees. If I'm a business consultant and I am a business consultant. So when I go into businesses, I help them process and systemize their systems. So ultimately you save time and money. I am charging exactly the same amount as I would in person because I could do it at home anyway. I'm doing it on my laptop. I work long hours when I'm working with my clients and I'm still getting them the same results. Now, what I've done is I've kept my fee more, but I've reduced the amount of hours. So initially I had a 6-week contract. Now I've said to them, there's some things that I actually need to be in person for. So we'll do those after and I'll just count them back. But I wouldn't cut your fee if that was like a normal situation. Yeah. If I changed my business model, for example, I was, early example, teaching the guitar in person and now I was teaching it online, I could probably change my cost because they're retaining me as a client. They're probably not going to get as much out of it as if I was there in person. I don't have any transport fees. It's not taking my time getting there. So it really depends on your business model. Yeah. But if you're doing exactly the same job, then no, there's no reason to cut your fees. It really depends on what your business is.
Yeah, and I agree with what Mr. says here, because it is tricky and it does depend on your type of business and your type of clientele again, because not everybody's clientele is the same as everybody else's. Your clientele might all be high-end people anyway who are not struggling in the crisis at the moment, for example. So it doesn't apply. And I think, again, if you do devalue your service or product, how can you then go back to charging what you did before? No one's going to do that. No one's going to let you do that. So I can see, again, like where my dance studio was coming from in that regard, because then to change the pricing model again. And that is a valid point, again, about the people who want cheaper reductions are probably the worst payers out of all of them. Absolutely. It's that 80-20 rule, isn't it? How much are you spending your actual time on servicing those clients? Because they're the ones who send the most emails and make the most phone calls, yet the ones who pay the most to acquire, enjoy your service.
Yeah, I mean, it's you get a certain amount of clients and you're like, why are they my clients? Well, why are they your clients? Just don't have that 20%. You'll be so much happier. I think it really depends on what the business is. And if you're providing the same amount of value than you would normally, then there's no need to reduce your pricing.
Yeah. So Philippa, I can't remember if I answered your previous question because I mentioned my course as an example. So I'll read it again. How do you get your online course noticed if there is a lot of competition? How do you stand out from the crowd? For me, I think, tell me what you think, Sabrina. For me, I think it's, being in a niche and not just being in, like a red ocean. So if you're offering business services, there's a million people offering business services out there. So you need to drop down into your niche. So for me, it's to go from, instead of like a personal brand, it's into podcasting. It's then into how to make money from podcasting. So you're dropping down into like a sub niche of a niche. And like Sabrina said earlier, actually knowing what you're talking about. So people, you've got kudos in that arena as well. You couldn't, people couldn't take you seriously, could they? Going back to your point, Sabrina. Which looks like her screen has just frozen. She's back. I'll see if Sabrina's screen unfreezes. She says thanks also. Yeah, to go back to your point there, Philippa, give us some more detail. What are you looking to do for your online course? Be interested to know. What niche are you looking to get into? What kind of clients are you looking to serve? If Sabrina's there, you can dive in as well. So give us some more information there, Philippa, if you've got it. So MR says again, if you're selling on value, not price, if I charge you £100 to cut your grass, whether I do it in 1 hour, 10 hours or 2 days, it's not relevant. Same, I guess, for your dance coaching in a way. Yeah, agree with you. Philippa says, can you monetize from a Facebook group where previously given information for free? Advice is on self-assessment. So I think you want to be getting into the habit of making people offers. So if you've got a Facebook group and it's free, I've got my Facebook group. Yeah, I think we've got Sabrina back. So I've got a Facebook group and that is free for people to join, and everything that I put into that group, which is called Podpreneur, is of value. Is like a free live stream every day, giving people advice and tips on how they can launch and monetize their own podcast. I think you want to get into the habit of making that group offers though, so that people are used to you doing that. Whereas if all of a sudden you're going to make them an offer and it's just been free forever and ever and ever and a day, then you're going to struggle with that. So Philippa, so MR says, I run free property groups and then charge people to advertise on the header image. She's back. There we go. Very good. So MR says, you run free property groups, then charge people to advertise on the header image. Okay. And if your own businesses, and I'm assuming, MR, that hasn't changed at the moment, in the current time. So yeah, Sabrina, quick blow dry the hair, was it? By the look of it, that was.
I don't know. It just froze, and yeah, it's probably Benji the Bear like having some games. No, I don't know. It just completely froze. But am I back? And you can hear me.
Yes. So I'm just talking because I know something about this. But so Philippa's saying, how would you get your online course noticed if there's a lot of competition? How do you stand out from the crowd? And as a sub question, which I've just answered a little bit as well, how do you monetize from a Facebook group where previously given information for free? Advice is on self-assessment. Yeah.
Well, firstly, like, unless you're in that 1%, you're probably not reinventing the wheel. There's always going to be other business coaches, always going to be other, online coaches for everything and anything. So yes, I think firstly, finding your niche is really important. And trying to keep that, try to be the best in your area. So for example, I could niche down and I could say, I'm a business coach for tennis coach owners who have a club and they want to expand and increase their program, because that's super, super specific. So that means you're going to be, unless you have a big platform, go as specific as possible, because that will allow you to be the go-to person in that industry and you're going to get more referrals. So I think that's really important, but also people buy you. So if if you've got a more online presence, and you need an online presence for online business, they're going to buy into you because they like you, and you may be more funnier than the other person. You may have a different delivery than the other person. They could just like you for you. So I think it's a mixture of, first, your personal branding is, I think, so important, and secondly, having that niche to back up your branding.
Yeah, and I think exactly what you said. Double down on that. Everybody is unique. People buy from people. So you want to, be as natural as you possibly can be, play to your strengths, and people, if you are genuine, and as somebody said earlier, if you've got integrity, people will buy from you based on your personality. They're going to see through something that you're not really, really super clearly, even on social media where there's a lot of, smoke screens. MR says, sorry, I have multiple Facebook groups which help landlords advertise in their town. We remove all adverts other than landlords, so no painters, decorators, etc. We block and ban unless you pay me and I change the header banner. Okay, get it. Often get removal firms paying money to be on the image. Captive audience, high degree of relevance. Yeah, absolutely. Lester asks, and then there's 12 questions sat there. I know we've only got 10 minutes left, which I'll dive into now. This is probably one of the most interactive webinars I've done in the last few weeks, which is good. So tennis events, have players made payments to play for tournaments that are now cancelled? What do you do about that? What's Sabrina's stance on refunding, giving credit, or having no refunds policy as per the T's and C's? I run an events business and I'm spending lots of energy managing the situation. Integrity and forbearance and brand image have to be considered. I'll be keen to know how Sabrina is managing the situation. Yeah, great question.
Yeah, good question. So I'm working with the LTA in delivering tournaments. So I'm very lucky to have their backing and their support. What first question was, have players made payments to play for tournaments that are now cancelled? Yes, I have given thousands and thousands of pounds back in refunds. I've given thousands of pounds back in refunds. And I basically said to everyone, we can either put you on for a future event and you just let us know which event. It will be valid for 12 months. Yeah. So the first thing is, can you keep any of that money in the business? So if you had a child and they were currently entered into one of our events, emailing out to all the players and all the parents and saying, we'll use this as a credit for a future event. The second half of that email says, if you would like a refund, you can have a refund, because it's given them the option that way as well. And I think it's really, really important. I personally have, have some events that are coming up. I was meant to go to the charity James Bond premiere 3 days ago. And, the tickets weren't cheap in a way, and they've rescheduled it to a time that I'm not scheduled to be in the country. Yeah. So, and they're not refunding me. And it's really frustrating on the brand because, at the end of the day, if they're repeat clients and you've got high client retention, then you want to keep them happy as possible. So I'd say, like, if they ask for a refund and you're in the events industry, do whatever you can to refund them, because it's going to be better for your brand image long term.
Yeah, agreed. And another example of this is trying to get an airfare back at the moment. And obviously the airline industry has been murdered and they want to keep money in the industry. So, can totally understand why they are offering a ticket for a future trip that you might want to make. And people will be like, yeah, well, I was flying specifically for an event at a specific time in a specific town, therefore I want my money back. For something like that, I think it is what it is. You've got to make a personal call on that. But I think you're right.
If it's a reasonably small local business, then do what you can to keep your customers, because it might be bad on cash flow, but actually, do you want to lose that potential client who could be spending hundreds of pounds with you a year? Yeah. Just because you don't want to give them an X amount of refund. So it's a really tricky one, and I'd say it really depends individually on the basis. But if you can keep your customers happy, then keep them happy.
Yeah, agree with you. Janet says, I'm a graphics and website designer. Any ideas on how I can boost my business, please?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I need a graphic designer, so you can get in contact.
I'm all about connecting people. There you go.
There's a lot of businesses who are being closed down at the moment, I understand, or they're operating at maybe 20% of what they usually do. On the flip side of that, you still have businesses who are trying to use this time to expand, to systemize, to redesign the website, rebrand. So there still are people working on those businesses. So it's a great opportunity to be a website designer or a graphic designer, because I bet even the people on here, if they're looking to start an online business, then they might need your services. So much reaching out as possibly you can. And if you're completely new and you've never done it before, then maybe reach out to some influential people and offer their services for free. So you have your original kind of testimonials and case studies and go from there. But if you're a website or graphic designer, this is such an amazing opportunity now to be looking for those other people who are trying to start an online business.
Thank you very much. Right, we have, how much time have you got, Sabrina? I've got about another 15 questions here for you.
Okay, we'll keep going, it's fine.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This is possibly the most, apart from the one with peers where we had like 1,100 people, this is definitely the busiest one we've had. So that is good.
Nice.
Yeah, 100%. Is a good question. So Lester says, yeah, seems like I'm doing the right thing. Thank you. Thank you, Lester, for your question. Here we go. Here's one. Can I set up a new business delivering cakes to local households without flouting the stay-at-home or essential travel-only rules? Several neighbours have asked me to do it.
Tricky, I don't know. Isn't it? Personally, I think that cakes are very essential. Yeah. I don't know.
Lover.
I think that providing that me and Alex get a cake, then we'll happily give you some advice. I personally think that it's to do with food. So therefore, can you say that it's an essential business to do with food? I don't know. I haven't read up specifically about food deliveries. However, I am creating a online website, which, well, it's live at the moment. It's called shoppingslot.co.uk, and it is allowing us to see the local, whenever Tesco's, for example, your local Tesco's has a delivery space open, we're emailing you and we're letting you know. Now, what we're going to do with this website is we're going to contact local businesses such as yourself who offer essential food and delivery services, and add you also onto the website. So anyone within your traveling radius is able to book for you. If you can say or justify that cakes are an essential part of your business, then yes, I'd say that's okay. Potentially think outside the box, and you could even say that you're delivering eggs and milk as well as cake.
Yeah,
there's something that you could do there. You could say you're delivering eggs, milk, cake, which I personally think are essential, which means that you continue your business, and then you could sell cake on the side. So maybe be a little bit creative on keeping your business open, for sure.
Yeah, I saw like our local artisan bakery. He's got about 6 now down here in Poole in Dorset, where I'm based, and he'd had a load of negative comments from people for like keeping his shops open. But now they've gone, all in on like a delivery service, and literally saying that, you can buy it online and they'll literally just drop it outside your door, and then they like take a photograph of you picking up said items and going back in, and that's their way of ticking off that you actually received the goods, etc. So I think there's a lot, like you said, Sabrina, there's a lot you can actually think outside the box and work out the parameters, going back to that terminology before as well, what you can and what you can't do. Would you suggest starting up a client subscription-based revenue stream for an online fitness coaching business? I think we probably covered that earlier, didn't we, with regards to yes, but saturation, unless you've already got a name and a following yourself, that is going to be difficult to do. It's not impossible to do, but difficult to do off the bat. I've seen loads of people do online Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and YouTube Live workouts for free. So why would someone subscribe? Bear with me. If I paid £10 a month, as soon as coronavirus is over, I would cancel and go back to the gym maybe. But what if you bought credits instead?
Yeah, I think the whole concept of becoming specifically an online PT in this example, is where you're going to become. There's one simple question you need to ask yourself, and this is going to give you the answer you need. If everything was normal, were you looking to become an online PT anyway? And if the answer is no, I'd think twice. And if the answer is yes, then get on with it in a really nice way. The market is becoming saturated. There's some already very established online PTs. Either you are going to do something completely different that's going to shape up the market, but don't start an online PT because you want to make money in the next 3 months. Don't plan to make money for at least a year. But if you want to do it anyway, then this is a great opportunity to start. But if you didn't, then maybe reconsider about how you're spending your time.
Very good. Great point regards doing something for society right now. So this is back to an earlier question that you answered. How best would you suggest impacting those in need right now? Social distancing is in place. How best can we help lonely and vulnerable people? Wow, difficult question to answer, but I will let you have a stab at it.
Be creative and be inventive, because I did mention earlier that unless you're in that 1%, you're going to have an idea that someone else has done. Well, we're kind of going through a situation in the world which hasn't ever happened in our lifetime. So there's currently nothing in place for so many different areas of business. So now's actually a great time to be creative and be innovative and find something different that's going to shake up society. The only negative for that is that you may be creating a very short-term business model. So if you are creating a business model that helps the COVID situation in particular, then how are you going to monetize that so it's sustainable? Even if that's through data collection, you need to make sure that there's something in your business plan that's going to allow it to help through society. And yes, I understand it's great being, creating all of these innovative solutions, but no business is sustainable unless it's bringing money in, because ultimately there's no incentive for anyone to do a business for free long term. So it's great to have that social demeanor about it, but make sure that, it's a sustainable business that you're creating and not just a quick fix.
Tennis coaching tuition over video is difficult with so much competition on YouTube. Any other suggestions for out of work tennis coaches? Sorry to hear that. Sabrina. Yeah,
I mean, it is hard. It is very hard to teach tennis. So for that, I kudos. There's not much you can do. The biggest thing I'd say is look for other revenue streams that aren't to do with tennis. And I love tennis, But, you know, even for me to be an online tennis coach, I'm just looking at it and thinking, oh my goodness, I could not tell someone's grip change just by online video. You know, it's really tricky. So maybe tennis isn't the best thing that you can do right now, and just explore other options. Type into Google, what 20 ideas could I do for an online business? And if you're a tennis coach and you want to go back to a tennis coach, then maybe finding a 1 to 3 month solution is what you need. Also speak to the LTA as well, because they are giving grants to full-time tennis coaches. And if you own a local tennis academy, you can get up to £10,000 for your local academy. So speak to the LTA for any tennis coaches or anyone in the tennis world who is financially struggling.
And I also think it's, and I got this from a few other people in business who've had to shut down, like beauty salons, hair salons, that kind of thing. And I think it's really important to stay in touch with your customers that you've got, even though you might not be able to fulfill what their normal needs are, service and product wise. I think it's really important to, you know, when things do pick up again, that you're at the forefront of their minds, because you have kept in touch, you have asked. For me, a really simple one actually is to ask your client base, what else are they struggling with? And even if you can't provide the solution for that, you might know somebody within your network account. You're still known as the go-to guy or girl who can provide that for them.
Yeah, 100%. Like if you also want to look at how you're going to retain those clients. And even if it's a text every couple of weeks, hope you're well, here's a funny tennis video, you're showing that you care and you appreciate them. So yeah, I think that's really important.
And can you, it's one I heard with salons as well, can you pre-sell something? So whenever the time, you know, again, like Sabrina said earlier, put a 12-month limit on it, or whatever you're going to do. But is there something you can pre-sell and get the revenue now that can be redeemed at a later rate? So can you think of a summer coaching camp, for example, or that you could then possibly roll into half term in October if things drag on, you know, things like that you can get creative with, you know, vouchers for birthdays. I mean, so many people are going to want to get outside and be active after this, because that's being knocked down. I said I went for a run last night, and my local park here, they'd put the barriers up so that you couldn't drive into there. Well, I was fine because I was running, but you're just thinking a lot of people are still driving somewhere to exercise. So I think one of the biggest things that are going to come out of this is people wanting to actually interact with humans again. And, you know, team sports, you know, by that, I mean, even like a, you know, one-on-one game like tennis doubles is a team sport, isn't it? People are going to want to do that more and more, I think. Yeah,
100%. Like, you know, I think personally, summer camps will happen on the last 2 weeks of August. I think if they're realistically going to happen. And just think, anyone with kids at home, I mean, I love kids. I don't have any kids, but I can't wait to have kids in however many years that will be. But you want to send them away, don't you? Like, you don't want to be stuck with them the whole of summer if you've had them for the last 3 months. So definitely looking at, you know, selling in advance, I think is a great idea, and potentially just doing an early bird offer or something similar. But like you said, Alex, get creative, get inventive.
Yeah. I have been trying to do something for society at the moment. My main skill is in accounting, so I've offered through the Facebook group to submit 2019 late returns by the 23rd and subcontractors returns to get early rebates. Self-employed need all the help they can get at the moment. Yeah, 100%, because there's just nothing available at the moment, and it applies to a couple of million people, I believe, reading the stats out there. MR says, regard to Janet, I think that was, I can't remember the question. Was that the cake one, or was that?
That was the cake one.
Yeah. Why not offer a free website to startups? Just tempt it and charge them X amount of pounds per lead that's generated. Use Google Analytics to track the conversion goals. Thank you. Here's a new one. Yeah. So I've been thinking of offering online cat grooming lessons, like it, where the client grooms their own cat with my guidance, but worried about liability if they get bitten or scratched. Really niche, I know, but any guidance or thoughts? Sabrina.
Oh my God, I love that. That's amazing.
Great. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Go onto Google, type in like a legality document, type one up yourself. If you have any friends that can look over it, great. But just get them to electronically sign something saying that you're not responsible for what their cat does. You know, just have something in writing. But ultimately it's their cat. So, you know, maybe even if it's something like, I understand the risks of doing this myself, I might get bitten by my own cat. So maybe make it fun and playful a little bit, but you know, why not? A cat grooming service sounds like a great idea. They still need to get their hair groomed.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. Just down the road from me is I think it's a dog grooming shop, but I wonder, hadn't thought about it till now, but I wonder whether they, you know, move that online, because you're going to have a customer base existing already. And again, it comes back to that whole thing of, you know, what can you do now to keep that client a client and at the forefront of their mind? So again, can you pre-sell stuff? So I think, like you said, Sabrina, just have something in the T's and C's there that you could easily pull off online as well. Have a look. Are we nearly? Oh, here we go. Maybe that's in part to that. I'm a part-trained specialist cat groomer due to complete my course May and June. 20 days full-time in a salon in London, possibly will be delayed. I'll be running a mobile model to keep startup costs low, and I'm worried visiting clients' houses will not be viable for the entire 2020. Should I shelve the idea till 2021 and launch then?
Just to confirm, the idea is going to people's houses with the cat. Well, actually, cats could get infected. Well, we've seen that cats can get the coronavirus themselves. So you don't actually, you know, want to be going to people's houses and grooming cats right now, to be honest. That's something that I think once the social distance, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in the UK economy. None of us do. My thoughts are that after we, you know, quarantine will probably go on for an extra 2 weeks, and then we're going to go to extreme social distancing, however the government are going to play it. And from a health and safety side of things, you've got two liabilities here. One, if somebody gets injured while they're, you know, if someone gets injured, then they might have to go see a doctor, which isn't really the best, what you want to be doing right now, because that's extra pressure on the NHS. Secondly, if the cat gets injured, then the cats might have struggled to get to a vet. And then thirdly, if you're going to people's houses mobily, then you could get the virus off them. So it's actually more of a health and safety more dilemma. Do I have a black and white answer for you? Absolutely not, because I don't know what's going to happen. I think the idea is great, and even if you can't launch it now, then you can still get your social media up, you can still get your awareness up. Everyone is online right now, so you can still at least create the brand online, even if you're not offering the services.
This is interesting. Somebody posted this into my my Podpreneur Facebook group. Said, "Wow, Japan! The president has just called a state of emergency. Every household will get $3,000. Every business will get $10,000. No tax, no insurance for 2020. $1 trillion package." Wow.
Oh my God,
Boris, you need to up your game. Hope you're well in hospital.
Wow.
But get your chancellor on that. Wow.
You have said that they're giving everyone $3,000, is it?
Yeah.
Well, the equivalent is probably what, 2.6K ish?
Something like that, two something, yeah.
Something K. Actually, the UK government, I would say, have a better policy in the sense that you can get up to 2,500 per month rather than a one-off. And businesses get the 10K grant if they're a shop. Plus, they also get a lot of different other benefits. I think the only way that Japan might be more positive in that way is there's that 5% of people who get, you know, are missing out. So yeah, potentially like a mix of both of the policies, I said, would be quite good.
And they're just learning from everybody else, like UK and US, of course. Here's one I saw earlier. So I think there's the last couple, unless there's more. What are your views on launching a product versus service-based business? We are a well-established wine business for nearly 30 years. Wow, amazing. Well done. Thinking of launching a virtual wine tasting event. I like it.
I mean, sign me up. Right, the only questions I have is, I can go to the shop, but I don't really want to go to the shop, and I'm trying not to drink. So like having the actual products to taste might be an issue in the house. So right now, probably a little bit tricky, I'd say, to have an online, you know, if I was doing a Zoom and with loads of other people trying out wine, I don't know if it would be practical in the sense that I wouldn't have the wines to try, if that makes sense. Yeah. Products versus services, why not do both? you know, you're bringing people in to do the wine tasting and then upsell them the products or give, you know, so there's definitely a mixture of both when it comes to wine.
And this is not wine, but it was beer. And I can't remember the name of the business, but what they do is send you, what is it? So like a subscription model, which is, you know, great anyway. But send you something like every quarter, send you 12 bottles of brand new beer from around the world.
That's
And
yeah.
on like a Wednesday at 6 p.m, everybody opens that beer and there's, you know, tasting notes and all of that. And I thought you could do something similar like that. I don't even, maybe something like that already exists, but there's maybe a niche for a particular wine country or a type of wine, or I think there's lots that you could potentially look at.
I like. Yeah. I could sign up to that.
Yeah, 100%. I like my red wine, so put me down. There was another one about products and service, and I thought of our mutual friend Camilla, actually, because it said, let me find it. I think it was like the first question on here about. Here we go. Yeah, are product-based online businesses more successful than membership subscription businesses? I mean, neither of us knows the answer to that, but it's our opinion.
It depends how good the product is and how good the service is. Like right now, yes, services are great because we can do a lot of them from home because it requires time and people, and most of it you can do on Skype. Other side of that is, well, products usually in a normal world do a lot of better because they're more scalable. So, you know, it's not a kind of a black and white question. It also depends what your idea is. Like whatever it is, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So more comments. Emma, thanks guys. That is me as well. Added the online option as an addition. If you bought a van and kitted it out, you wouldn't be entering someone's house. In my area also, we have somebody locally who does it with dog grooming. Great, thanks, says Nish. Subscription monthly for wine, £20 for one, off of £17 tied in for 12 months. Give them a discount, tie them into a deal. Yeah. My only concern is brand damage, to be seen to be driving around working as a non-essential worker during the lockdown, even if the work is totally social.
Is this for the cats?
Yeah, I think we've gone back to it. Yeah.
I think that with the cats issue is that cats can have the coronavirus, so you're putting yourself at risk.
Yeah.
To catch it off the cat.
And who knows what the next steps are with regards to, is that the next thing to go? Because I remember seeing, you know, as soon as the weather got better last Friday, there was so many more cars on the road, and I thought before you know it, they're just going to clamp down on that completely.
Yeah, no, it's what a weird thing to say in a question. You might get the virus off a cat. Like, how crazy is it, the world we're living in right now?
But I read that was like a big cat, wasn't it, in New York or something, in the zoo that caught the coronavirus. Yeah, nuts. Well, thank you to everybody who stayed with us for an hour and 15, which is awesome. Thank you for your time, Sabrina. Really appreciate it. But yeah, we've still got a load of people with us, but I think we're done on questions, guys. But we'd probably love to have you back in a couple of weeks when we've got space again, if you'd like to jump on.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you all so much, guys, for watching. If you've got any questions that you haven't asked, then I have been doing a live every day at 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. on my Instagram, Sabrina Stocker. And some of it's to do with business, some of it's to do with mindset and positivity. Some of it is just having a general chat with friends, and sometimes that's what you need. So jump on there, DM me for any questions, and yeah, just use this time to explore what you haven't made time for before, and just have as much fun with it as you can. Find a routine, and also really massively like find friends in your circle that have the same kind of level of motivation and ambition as you. So you're pushing each other, because the worst thing is if you've been working on a business all day and you chat to a friend and they said they've been Netflixing all day, it just brings you down a little bit of a level. So be really specific on who you're reaching out to, and feel life with positivity. Like, do it because you love it, not because you feel like you have to.
Yeah, so best place to find you, I think you just said, is on your Instagram, yeah, at Sabrina Stocker, for those of you who don't already follow you on there. And I know, yeah, you're doing lives every day. Likewise, more than happy to connect with everybody. For me, LinkedIn is the easiest place to get hold of me. If you use that, at Alex Chisnell, I just posted that up. And happy to, carry on the conversation. Anyone who's got any other questions like that, happy to pick them up and liaise with Sabrina with regards to that. But yeah, thank you so much. We had over 100 people in the end. That's awesome. Really, really cool. For this time of the day.
That's great. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sabrina. Catch you very soon.
Bye.
Bye.